Aloha and welcome to Returning to the Aina. My name's Timothy Reese and I have been your guide on this journey. This journey has come to an end and I hope that the information that I've shared with you has been beneficial, helpful, and most of all that it will empower you to begin growing your own food and moving towards more sustainable practices. It is the end of the 2019-2020 school year, and I would like to congratulate all of the OPO who graduated this year. It is such a great accomplishment, which you should be very proud of, and you get to take full credit for. Sure, your parents might have had to drag you out of bed a couple times, but you were the one who got up and went to school and did the work. So hulo to you. Because this is the final episode, we will be taking a look at processing some of what we harvest. There are a number of plants here in Hawaii that if you plant them and you malama them, they will produce an abundance of food. And sometimes that abundance can be a little overwhelming, such as avocado, mango, papaya, banana, green beans, Tumeric, Olena, ginger, avapuhi. There are a number of crops that will just supply an abundance of food if you malama them, and we are truly blessed to live in this place during these times. So we'll be taking a look at a couple processing methods, primarily drying, we'll ferment a dish, and do a little pickling. So, ehele mai. Olena, or turmeric, is one of those crops that if you plant it, you might find yourself in a situation where you have an abundance. And I'm just going to show you a couple ways that I like to use Olena and ways that I process it. I went ahead and processed some turmeric over here. I separated them into their components, or just to make it easier for processing. This is a bowl of mothers, or the core pieces, and a little bit larger fingers, which I'll slice up and dehydrate, and some of the smaller pieces that I will kui to make medicine, a mouthwash, and some tea. So one of the things I like to do with the turmeric is make a tea. It's real simple, real easy. There's a number of different ways you can make the teas, but I'm just going to show you my method. I will take some of the smaller pieces that I don't use in other applications or for other purposes, and I'll just take a knife. It's a pretty wide knife, and very carefully, with the blade away from me, I'll use my palm and just put pressure down on it, and it ends up crushing the turmeric like that. And I'll just do that with some of these smaller size pieces just to utilize them. They're still good. They do have the curcumins in it. And as far as what is the appropriate amount, whatever you want to put in, I think works. When I'm drinking this kind of stuff, I'm usually drinking it for its medicinal value or nutritional value and what it's going to do to my body, so I don't mind going heavy on this. And since I have a lot of it, I'm going to make a pretty potent batch of turmeric tea. And I can always thin this down with water after I'm done if it's too strong. So this is probably about 2-3 cups of water in here. And after I make the tea, I might pour this into a half-gallon jar and fill it up, or maybe even 2 half-gallon jars, depending on how strong I make it. So I think I got enough pieces in there to start the tea process, but one thing that I've read in my research, or came across in my research, is the recommendation to put little black pepper in just a little bit, just literally lava, enough. They say that helps to activate the curcumins in the Olena. I also like to add just a touch of cinnamon, just to give it a little bit more flavor. Not much. And I'm going to go ahead and put that on the fire. The Olena tea is done, so I'm just going to run it through the strainer into a half-gallon jar. It's got a really nice color, and there's still quite a bit of stuff in there. And what I'll do is I'll actually add a little more water to this and cook it down one more time and try to extract as much as I can out of this. So this is the end result of the Olena tea that I made, and it's a little over 2 cups. So it's cooled down a little bit, and you could add your sugar at this point. I'm going to add some coal to this, some sugar, and then fill this up to the top. And there's the finished product. Here's my Olena tea. I'll throw this in the fridge, and it'll be a nice alternative to water. It'll be providing my body with the nutrients that are contained in the Olena and its medicinal properties. Anti-inflammation is one of the biggest benefits of turmeric, and that came out of maybe like 10 pieces about that size, so it didn't take much, and nice healthy beverage. So in regards to homeopathic herbal remedies and Kanaka Maoli culture or Hawaiian, ethnic Hawaiian culture, the most important ingredient, as I understand it, in preparing medicines, treating illnesses, is the pule, or the prayer. Praying for a correct diagnosis, praying for the creation of a medicine that will treat the illness, and praying that the medicine works in the application or administering the medicine. So whenever I'm doing this kind of stuff, I am praying, especially when I'm making my medicines for kids or things like that. As far as specific pule, I don't know what they are. As I mentioned, I have not been trained by a cultural practitioner in this art, but what I do pule from my pu'uvai, or my heart, and I really am just giving thanks to a higher power, to the Creator. Thank you for giving me the ability, the mobility to actually do the work to create this medicine. Thank you for giving me the ike, or knowledge, to be able to process this in a manner that can be used as a medicine. I have practiced using herbal medicine in the sense that I've heard about it, people have recommended it, and I've actually done it and applied it to myself and treated myself in different situations with herbal remedies, and turmeric is one of them. I've used the turmeric, and I do use the turmeric for fighting infection. It has antibacterial, antiviral properties, and if you have a deep cut and you're trying to keep it from getting infected, a poultice of Olena or turmeric will help keep it from getting infected. Another thing that this works really well on is if you have a cut that has gotten infected, this works really well at drawing the infection out and getting that wound back to a clean state where then you can start treating it. So if you got an infection on a cut and it's sore and it hurts, making this poultice will help get you back on track. And one thing I found in teaching my daughter, we had to experiment and we had some good fun doing it, is if you have a pestle mortar like this and you're going to be breaking up the turmeric, it is much easier to use a larger piece than, say, a bunch of little pieces. What you'll find is those little pieces tend to shoot out, so taking a big piece like this and cutting it into a lot of little pieces and putting it in here and trying to pound it, it can be very challenging. And so you'd be better off using a piece that fits nicely inside of your mortar, and that way it's not going to shoot all over the place. It's kind of wedged in there, and you'll get a couple shots on it where you can actually crack it open and crush it. Once again, with the pestle mortar, you really don't want to be banging, because if you miss and you hit the stone, you're probably going to break it. This is usually more of a pressing, grinding action, but to get this started, I am going to be using some sharp strikes, and I'm just being careful to make sure I hit the turmeric. So I'm trying to crack it open, and there it goes. It's cracked into half. And you can see right there, it's been broken open, and now I'm just lightly crushing those up, trying not to impact the mortar too much, but I want to get these opened up. It's really fibrous, it's going to want to hold together. And then at a certain point you can just kind of push down and crush these into a paste. Now if you're going to be putting this, using this poultice on an open wound, say you have a deep cut or something, it might be a good idea to really pulverize this, because the skin, the fibers, the way it fractures when you break it, it can have edges on it, and if you're going to be laying it against a wound, those edges could really dig in there and it could be really painful. So take your time and make sure it's nice and crushed and smashed up so it doesn't feel uncomfortable on the wound if you're putting it on there. That is a rough ground poultice inside there. It's pretty smashed. It doesn't take much. So that right there could be used on a wound as a poultice, just like that. As far as extracting juice from this, all you'd need is a strainer. I have a little chinois here that I can press this poultice through, or I could use something like this nut milk bag. I could place the poultice inside here, and then twisting the top of the bag will squeeze the contents and the juice will drain out. So if you're just looking for the juice, to extract the juice, maybe you have a really sensitive area that you're wanting to put it and you just want to apply the juice on it, that would be the way of going about extracting the juice from the poultice. So you could add a lot more in here and just keep pounding it away until you got enough. What I'm going to do with this is something that I've been doing for a while, and I'm going to make a mouthwash. I noticed that this older gentleman would never get sick. He was a co-worker, and one day he shared with me a practice of his that he attributed to the reason why he wasn't getting sick and everybody else was catching the cold and flu and all that stuff. And it was gargling every single day with salt water is what he did. Just like brushing his teeth, he would gargle with salt water. And in light of the situation we find ourselves in with this virus, this might not be a bad practice to adopt. So what I've done is I basically pounded this into a poultice, and I am going to add just a touch of black pepper and some pa'akai, some salt. This salt came from Hanapepe, the salt ponds here in Kauai. Is there a right and wrong amount of salt? No, to taste. Whatever you can handle. This what I'm making, this mouthwash gargle, really, is for medicinal purposes, to kill the bacteria or anything in the back of your throat. And that's what I've got. A nice mixture inside there. To make the mouthwash, I've added all my ingredients inside the mortar, and I want to get them out. So what I'm going to end up doing is I have a measuring cup here, just a container, and my chinois or strainer. And I'm just going to add a little bit of water to my mortar just to loosen everything up and be able to pour it out more easily. Hopefully that captured all the salt, the pa'akai, and then I'm just going to press whatever's in the strainer. I'm not pushing too hard, but just I can see the water coming out. That's about it. So there's my mouthwash mixture, and I'll further dilute that with some more water when I do gargles, but I'll put this in a little jar and keep it up by the sink. And that's just another thing that I like to use turmeric for.